I was sitting in my therapist's office at 28 years old, finally saying out loud what I kept silent for 20 years. My childhood didn't end. It was taken from me. And as those words left my mouth, I started crying. Not sad crying, but angry crying. Because I'd spent 2 decades pretending I was fine. Pretending that what happened to me was normal. That being forced to raise my 3 younger siblings starting at age 8 while my mother worked. And my father drank was just what oldest daughters do. That missing school to change diapers and make bottles was responsibility. That having no friends because I couldn't leave the house was sacrifice. That going hungry so my siblings could eat was love. But it wasn't any of those things. It was parentification, it was neglect. It was child abuse disguised as family duty. And I am finally speaking about it because there are thousands of kids right now living the life I lived. Being told they're selfish for wanting to be children, and they need to hear the truth what happened to us wasn't okay and we deserved better. Let me take you back to where my childhood ended. I was 8 years old. 3rd grade, my mom had just had her 4th baby. My dad was barely functional, drinking every night, couldn't hold a job. My mom had to work double shifts at the hospital to keep us fed, and someone needed to take care of the kids. My siblings were 6, 4, and newborn, and that someone became me. It started gradually, my mom asking me to watch the kids for an hour. Then a few hours, then full days. By the time I was 9, I was responsible for 3 children. Getting my 6-year-old brother ready for school, feeding my 4-year-old sister, taking care of the baby, bottles, diapers, everything. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. to prepare breakfast, pack lunches, get everyone dressed, walk my brother to school, then spend the day with a toddler and an infant. I was 9 years old playing mother. My teachers noticed I was tired, missing assignments, falling behind. They called my parents. My mom cried and said she was doing her best. She was a single parent, essentially. My dad was useless. She needed my help. What was she supposed to do? And the teachers backed off, gave me extensions on homework, lowered their expectations. Let me slip through because they felt sorry for my situation. But nobody asked if I was okay, if I wanted this, if I understood I was being robbed. By the time I was 11, I wasn't going to school regularly anymore. My mom needed me home. The baby was always sick. My sister was in her terrible 2s. My brother was struggling in school because nobody was helping him with homework. I became the parent to all of them, cooking dinners, doing laundry, helping with schoolwork, cleaning the house, managing doctor's appointments, all while my mom worked and my dad sat on the couch drinking. And when I complained, when I said I was tired or I wanted to see my friends or I had a school project due, my mom would cry and say, "I need you, I can't do this alone. You're the only one I can count on. Don't you love your family?" And I'd feel guilty, selfish, like wanting my own life made me a bad person. I had no childhood, no sleepovers, no birthday parties, no after-school activities, no time to just be a kid. My friends stopped inviting me to things because I always said no. Eventually, they stopped being my friends. I was isolated, exhausted raising children when I was a child myself, and everyone acted like this was normal, like I was being mature, responsible, a good big sister, but I was being exploited. The breaking point came when I was 14. I'd been accepted into a summer program for gifted students, a science camp I'd applied to secretly. Full scholarship, 2 weeks away. I was so excited. Thought maybe I could have this one thing for myself. When I told my mom, she said no immediately. "I can't manage without you for 2 weeks. Who's going to watch the kids? You're being selfish. This family needs you." And I begged, cried. Said I worked so hard to get in, it was important to me. And she said, "Your family should be more important than some camp." I didn't go to the camp. I stayed home and took care of my siblings like always, and something inside me broke that summer. I realized I wasn't a daughter in this family. I was unpaid labor. I was a parent without any of the authority or rights. I was trapped and nobody was coming to save me because everyone thought this was what good daughters did. I left home at 18, the day after I graduated high school, got a job, moved into a tiny apartment with 2 roommates. And my mom called me crying, "How can you abandon your siblings? They need you. You're destroying this family." And I said something I'd never said before. "They're not my children, they're yours. I raised them for 10 years. I'm done. You need to figure it out." And I hung up, and for the first time in a decade I felt like I could breathe. My siblings resented me for leaving. They didn't understand. They were 13, 11, and 10. They just knew their big sister who'd always been there suddenly wasn't. My mom painted me as the villain, the selfish one who chose herself over family. And for years I believed her. Felt guilty for leaving. Felt like maybe I was a terrible person. It took years of therapy to understand what had happened to me, to put a name to it. Parentification, a form of emotional abuse where children are forced to take on adult responsibilities, where the parent-child relationship is reversed, where kids are robbed of childhood and told it's love. My therapist explained that what my mother did was neglect, that forcing an 8-year-old to raise 3 children was abuse, that I wasn't selfish for leaving, I was surviving. I'm 28 now. I haven't spoken to my mother in 5 years, my siblings, and I have complicated relationships. They're adults now. Starting to understand what happened, starting to realize that the childhood they had where someone was always there taking care of them came at the cost of mine. My youngest sibling called me last year crying, "I'm so sorry. I didn't understand what mom did to you." I have a daughter now and I can't imagine putting that responsibility on her. You were just a kid. Hearing that validation meant everything. I started speaking about my experience publicly, wrote about it online, and the responses were overwhelming. Thousands of people sharing their stories. Oldest daughters who raised their siblings' children who became parents' kids who had their childhood stolen and were told it was duty. We all carried the same guilt, the same anger, the same grief for the lives we should have had. People ask if I've forgiven my mother, if I want a relationship. The answer is no, because she's never apologized, never acknowledged what she did was wrong. She still tells people I abandoned the family, still plays the victim, still doesn't see that she stole my childhood, and I don't have space in my life for people who refuse to see the harm they caused. Here's what I want other people to understand. Parentification destroys children. It steals their development, their education, their social skills, their sense of self. It creates adults who don't know how to set boundaries, who feel guilty for having needs, who believe their worth is tied to how much they sacrifice. I'm 28 and I'm still learning how to put myself first. Still learning that having needs doesn't make me selfish. Still unlearning 2 decades of being told my value was in how useful I was to others. If you enjoyed my story, please like and subscribe and share this with anyone who was forced to be an adult before they were ready. Who raised siblings or took care of parents, who had their childhood taken and was told it was love, because here's the truth. Children are not backup parents. Oldest daughters are not built-in babysitters. Asking a child to sacrifice their childhood for the family is abuse no matter how it's framed. My childhood didn't end naturally. It was taken from me by parents who refused to parent. And I'm finally angry about it, finally grieving it, finally speaking about it. Because silence protects abusers and I'm done protecting people who didn't protect me.